For those of you joining us from across the world, what we're trying to do is find a pipeline for automatically generating or semi-automatically generating SHACL shapes for not just basic formal ontology, but the Common Core ontology. It's 11 modules with their various contents. It's a lot of content to generate shapes out of. There are not a lot of formal tools that can really like hit everything. And I'll be clear, what we're talking about here is not just tooling or a pipeline that can take the OWL axioms and RDF, and from there generate SHACL shapes. That's easy. That's the easy part. What we're actually trying to do is do that plus take the textual definitions or Common Core ontologies and extract as much of the logic as we can from that and generate SHACL shapes for that. Because ultimately what we want to do is we want to have the shapes files sitting next to Common Core, so that as we're adding data to Common Core in an automated pipeline, because they exist, we want to be able to verify or get triggers if some of that data that's being added deviates, not just from the OWL, from the text, currently the OWL that's in CCO, but also from the textual definitions, which is to say the intended interpretation of the classes, which currently there are not a lot of axioms in CCO. And so that sort of stuff would fly, like deviations from the textual definitions would fly under the radar in standard pipelines. We're trying to be better than that, and that's what the students are working on today. Okay, so here's what I would like to do. Let's spend a little time in our respective groups, and I want you to think about pitching exactly where you are in the project right now in a simple way, as a way to kick off the recording, but also given all the things we've just discussed, you think of this as like a bit of a brainstorming, like getting on the same page, hearing what other people have done, that can inform, and hearing what I've said, like that can inform the way you present. And I think this will be a good kind of reset. And then I can provide some guidance for going forward based on where you are right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that I'll give you like 3 minutes. Oh, you ready? All right.
I mean,
let's roll, homies. Josh, go for it, my man.
Okay, so we have, let me just pull everything up real quick.
You want to share your screen? You want to hop
I'm not in the.
You want to hop on and share your screen?
Yeah, let me do that.
Okay, cool, John.
Okay, so these are some of the stuff that we have. We have, I can show you guys, this is the YAML that we have over here. This was created by John Cullen, and it basically is it's a guided workflow. And it's basically telling us to combine what we have over here, which would be the validate and generate the SHACL part. I found great success in validating the ontology. This is one of the slims. We chose geospatial because it's the smallest. We were having trouble with it, so we kicked around the idea of using the time ontology because it's around the same size. And then, so this is the YAML. Here's the validate. I was having trouble having it recognize RDF and the YAML that we had. I was trying to work without it. It didn't really seem like it mattered anyway because I couldn't get anything to read the turtle correctly. I can show you what I have in idle. This is what I had generated for me, and it's basically just. I mean, here's some problems right here. Like, for example,
did you pull up idle?
Huh?
Did you pull up idle?
Oh, I'm not sharing it. Okay, let me go.
Oh, all right.
So this is the script that I was using, but here are some like pretty general problems that I ran into when I was just like reading through it. For example, it just says print this regardless. And then so here, for example, it says first 10 lines of the turtle file, and then it just gives me this, which is of course not what I want to see. Valid definition. So we have no circular definitions found. I trust that from what I saw in the validation Python script. Everything else, I can't get it to generate a single SHACL shape.
Hold on. First off, couple of questions. Why does your path have users John Bev documents?
Because that is where
you're not on my computer.
I am on your computer.
On my personal laptop.
This is because this is the university this is under you.
I was like, what the hell are you doing on my
Yeah.
computer? Oh, okay. He's borrowing my computer. Okay. I was a little pissed off for a second. Anyway, okay. That makes a lot more sense. That was my first question. Okay. Second question. So are you suggesting there's a script that runs here that checks for circular definitions?
Yes.
Or is there supposed to be a SHACL shape that's generating that does the checking?
Both.
Oh, well, up top it says no SHACL shapes generated, so it's no, of course you don't have any.
Because, and it was saying because of the format of the SCOS definitions.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's, of course, if it's using the SHACL shape to check if there are circular definitions, of course there are no circular definitions because it's not reading or generating SHACL shape.
Right.
It's trivially true.
So,
John Bev, what did you do?
yeah, I didn't do this. This is all John Bev. So that's kind of the part that I was getting stuck on.
Okay.
And again, I probably tried for about 2 hours to reconfigure the RDF and RDF lib, and then for it to recognize the YAML, and it just was not. I was doing command prompts and trying to get it to go, and it wasn't.
So you're in a debugging mode.
That I'm in the debugging mode.
Okay.
Although I will say that Fede and I did spend a good amount of time looking at both the two Python scripts, the validate and the generating scripts, and we didn't really find any like concrete issues with it. We both
And John wrote them, right?
John wrote
They're
it.
probably
Yeah.
in good shape. I mean, John knows how to code.
Yeah, exactly. And it is
I
again.
suspect that may have something to do with it not being. Are you leveraging in this script LLM? Are you like calling an LLM to do any reading?
So Fede is working. He couldn't get the API key to work.
Yeah, that's what I expect. Actually, maybe I just look at API calls. So that might be the thing, right? I was saying it's not obvious to me that these things can read turtle files.
Yeah.
And so they might be throwing an error of like a bug, like a description of the error, but you can't always trust that.
Yeah.
You know, that may be way off. So
this is all the Regs I said.
We can't put turtle or
that's something.
Yeah, that's right.
Realize.
Yeah, this is what I was saying. We had Carter and I ended up like converting it, like just taking the turtle files or trimming them up and then converting them into a PDF and then feeding it the PDF because it could read the PDF.
Yeah. So I guess what the road bump that we're trying to get past is just debugging this to get it to generate some SHACL.
Okay.
It is also, and this is no, I mean, John just put out some really great code. I mean,
John's awesome.
Yeah,
we get it. John's awesome.
it is hard though to go through and
I wouldn't
somebody else's code.
I wouldn't have been. That's true. That's true. That's why people duplicate code all over the place. Again, I would have not like. I would have carved this up in pieces, like a divide and conquer strategy. I would have and I would have coded as much of the script structure without leveraging GPT or any generative AI as I could in scripts that would pull out the shapes. And then I would let the NLP do what NLP does best, which is pull out some semantics from the textual definitions rather than trying to have it play with the structure. It's not good at that now. And
look, I have I have on my GitHub, I have, let's see,
you part of that hack that just went down?
I was reading into that. Okay, so this is the Python code, this is script, this is just pulls definitions out.
Is this from John or from you?
This is from me, this is on my GitHub, you can say. This is just a really simple script protocol that just it just extracts the definitions and their corresponding URIs out, and here are the results. And I think that if this is small enough, this is geospatial, that
so this could be useful as a way to like this feed in. This would be like what you're feeding in and trying to have it.
And I think having this maybe as this is not the simplest way. This is like the path of most resistance, I think, but to use this script for all of the turtle files and then use this to generate like as a feed for the SHACL shapes might be more useful. It's just an extra step.
Yeah, I think it's a step that might be necessary. I'll highlight some other structural things that I was talking about earlier. If I'm writing scripts or like giving cues in this case for the NLP to pick out certain things that are like definitions some of them have capitalized nouns. Those are all classes in CCO. Okay. If it's not capitalized, it's not a class. There may be object properties, but there wasn't a consistent way to format that. But like mass is a class, and that's like the standard that CCO uses. If it's capitalized in the definition, it's a class that they already have. It's not perfect, of course. They're actually, and then it doesn't exactly capture everything you need, like hydrosphere as a class. Some things were changed later and not updated. So
would you like if I were to like add, for example, like as I was mentioning before, like as just another tool because RDF isn't going to encompass all of these terms. Like I would use like the XSD data types. Like would I want to have more things in here so we'd just be able to better read the definitions to create shapes out of them?
I would see how far you get with this first.
Okay.
And I wouldn't delve into I wouldn't delve into other formats if I could get away with it.
Okay.
And I think you can. I think this is about using the right tool for the right job, right? So I wouldn't be using for stuff I knew the logical structure is right there in the file. Like there's OWL representation or RDF structure already built in. I wouldn't be asking GPT to pull that out. It's right there. I just have a script. They're patterns. The logic is a pattern. I just say, convert this, transform this into the shape. And then it's just a transformation from one structure to another structure. And there you can do that. But then for the textual definitions is where generative AI is going to be like a heavy hitter. It's NLP based. This is what it does. And so that is the place I would have it targeting to pull out some semantics and have it translated not into SHACL, but into as much of a logical format as I could get in OWL. It might not get OWL perfect. It'll try to put it in OWL. And you'll have to check it, but it will generate OWL for you. And then you can take that script that you had before that goes from OWL to SHACL, and you can just leverage that. Does the Telecent crew, is it an OWL to SHACL? So there's scripts already that exist that can do this. So. And they're building off of some existing scripts from what I understand.
I'm not sure. But
they told me they were the other day on the phone. I asked them about this. I said, my students are using your script.
If I am running into, if it's inevitable to run into the problems of GPT reading Turtle, I will just extract the definitions and have them in text files.
If anything, do an A/B test. Because just try them both. Take some of the definitions here and put it in the text file. Take a snippet of RDF from the turtle, save it as a turtle, load one up, ask it a question about the actual syntax or something or actual details, see what it says, load the other. That's how Carter and I tested this. We were like, I think we'd loaded up like one of the smaller modules, and I'd ask the question. I was like, it was something like, what's the prefix for this? And it just made something up. I was like, okay, look at this file at all. And then I dug in and asked her a question that I knew about something that had changed in CCO from a previous release, like something that we just changed like a few days before that was in the file. And I was like, tell me about this in CCO. And it gave me the old other release. And I was like, oh, well, I didn't load that one up. So, now, it may have changed. Like this is why I say do an A/B test, because they may have sort of functionality there now with O. It sounds like they don't. It sounds like you're running the same problems that Carter is running into.
It sounds like it.
He has a paper on this, by the way, that my Ontologist paper. He talks about all this stuff.
I'll go through something.
Oh, it's on the archive.
Okay.
You just type in my Ontologist, Carter. It's the only intersection. Does this make sense what I'm saying about like using the right tools for the right job?
Of course, yeah. I'm a little curious.
Things ain't good at logic.
What do you mean about the A/B test? I'm not familiar.
Oh, I'm using it as a metaphor. or like a metaphor for like doing a test. So I'm saying like, do some digging to make sure like the generative and the GPT is either reading it or not. And you can just ask it some direct questions.
Okay.
Like you say, load this file up and it'll load it up and you just ask direct questions
Okay.
about like, is the word back in this file? Like,
Yeah.
just direct stuff like that.
Okay. But so that's, I mean, just to sum it all up, this is, I hope I'm giving the full impression of where we're at. I think like for John and Jay stuff, like they're pretty much done. They got us all the way to like to
Awesome.
T2, and now we're just trying to finish T2,
Mhm.
Fede and I.
Okay.
If we can debug to get the API key working and to maybe try this method, I think that everything else should go pretty smoothly, but we're in good shape. We
You
want,
gotta be more excited, man.
what?
You'd be like, I think we're making progress. Like, I think we're almost
making
there.
progress. I think that
John McClellan is a wizard,
He is.
freaking wizard. Like electricity comes out of his nose. Like
Yeah.
it's amazing.
It's like Gandalf.
Like Gandalf, the
Yeah.
Grey. Into the mountaintop.
And when we get to T3, he'll be Gandalf the White.
That's right.
Um,
That's right.
But
I
so,
was gonna leave him wanting a little more. Good.
I think we are in good shape. We wanted at least to fully represent BFO.
Yep.
And then I think that as like a proof of
NCCF.
concept, we get geospatial, and I think if one works,
Huh.
the rest will work.
And with that, I'll turn it over to Giacomo, who's going to give us a rundown, highlight of the progress that they've made, or lack thereof, on this project.
Can I ask a question to Josh first?
Yeah.
So the Python script is grabbing the turtle stuff, sending it to an LLM, and then grabbing back the results, and then doing some like quality control on top of it, where you check for stuff like
The quality control
circularity.
that is stuff, yeah, he wanted to.
Blame him.
I thought it was Jay Bittner stuff about like
The quality?
checking like whether the definitions in CCO are circular or not.
I mean, yes, I don't know. Building that in might have created its own roadblock. Because that's not exactly what we were trying to, at least from what I'm understanding, that's like the main goal is to see if it's circular or not.
Right.
And so adding that in there might have, I don't want to say confused any LLM, but I think it might have. So I haven't been doing this with the aim of quality control, although I am using the tools that have it built in. Yeah.
I guess it was quality control in the sense that you were using SHACL shapes to check whether the definitions in CCL are good or bad. So
Yeah,
right?
instead of just plainly generating them.
Right.
Right.
So but that is what the Python script is, right?
The Python script was, yeah, validating an ontology. One of them was validating the ontology, one of them was for generating.
When you say validating the ontology, you mean
Validating probably the definitions. Or validating, not, yeah, let me,
because maybe I'm using the validating term a different way.
yeah, so it's mostly checking for definition alignment. Some definitions, return misaligned definitions.
Between the shapes and the definition?
Between the,
Definitions and axioms?
from how the graph shape is, the RDF-lib, the graph. So it's loading the turtle file, it's getting the graph, and then it's detecting circular definitions. And then it's validating the definitions with the YAML instructions. And the YAML instructions are to make sure that they are in genus species form.
Okay, so it is checking whether the definitions are good or bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, just to add just a little more, it's ensuring definitions explicitly differentiate between disjoint classes and do not allow overlapping scope or characteristics.
Okay.
Of that tells.
This is on GitHub right now. On my GitHub, although some cool stuff is scattered across some other people's GitHubs, such as John Gugliotti and Mike's and other people probably. So what we did, we started from. I didn't want to like use LLMs to go to build shapes for the owl stuff.
Mhm.
And that's why we spent like a week trying to get Australia to work, which is a roadblock. But I think we discovered that it cannot work. I think, I don't know. There is someone else on the team that knows better than me the exact reasons why it's not working. But luckily, we were in that meeting with the IES people, so we used that tool to generate shapes for all this stuff. These are the modules, and there is a merge module for all shapes.
Can I look at one of them?
Yeah, so it's not. Let me see. This is all CCO technically. It's not perfect, but
Sure.
And it doesn't get everything.
Yeah.
But it gets some stuff like.
This is good.
Yeah. So
Good
like I think it's getting stuff like. Basically, when you write like subclass off and you give the axioms, it transforms that into path relations,
Mhm.
right? SH path.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, what you're doing when you're doing a subclass relation, you're saying, and you're not the taxonomy. I mean the subclass of used
Yep.
to give axioms. You're saying all the instances need to have this type of relation to some instance of that
That's right.
other type.
That's right.
So yeah, that's
This is what I would.
so this is all the owl, and
The only difference is I would have had it read the tail of the IRI and replace that with the label.
but if you do that, is SHACL gun? How can you valid? I mean,
This will just be the IRI.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll just read that.
Oh, for the name you mean
Yeah,
of the
just for
shape?
that.
Okay, sure. Yeah, that's true. But I think their tool can be probably like tweaked and
Oh, yeah, of course.
we can work around it. We didn't do a lot of like quality control on what's going on here. They look fine, but I'm sure there is something that can be done better. Then what we did next was spend. Well, okay, I'm gonna talk about GPT at the end. These are knowledge graphs. These are built very recently, so year also we didn't have a lot of time to take a look at what's going on.
Mhm.
These are built using a thing called RDF Gen something SHACL something. I can give you the link.
Yeah.
John Gugliotti found out about it and worked on this part. So these are built out of the these are supposedly built out of the shapes themselves.
Uh-huh.
So this is a graph built on the shape.
These are your tests.
This is what?
These are meant to be your synthetic testing.
Yes. And actually, I'm not sure what SH description is doing. Oh, it's just telling me
It's
the
just
shape.
a
Okay.
description.
Most of it is just subclass relations.
Well, a type of like a subtype instance of.
Yeah, so it's just giving the right type to it.
Okay, cool.
So
Good.
one
Good,
other, I'm sure we can. So John Gugliotti mentioned that there is like a more complex like workarounds which you can do with that tool to like give it more parameters to build more complex stuff.
Cool.
So these are kind of basic at the moment, but they are supposedly based on the SHACL shapes themselves.
Fantastic.
There is another tool called PyDraft, which is more complicated to use. So we kind of avoided that and we focused on this one because this was easier, and we also directly had the shapes to start from. But there is more work to do basically on that side of things, because we didn't want. What we were worried about was to give something which is giving us a robust test, giving us something which can break the shapes in an interesting way, I guess. But these are the instances, and then we had a script from Mike, which should be linked in the readme file. Like a PySHACL script, which is just getting it's just matching these two things and then generating reports in Turtle. And then what really pissed me off this morning was the LLM side of things, where we try to like work with the definitions and get shapes from the definitions. And I'm not happy about what the results were. And I think the least bad results we had was generally because, as you've said, LLMs are gonna make up stuff, or pretend that they're reading the files. So we tried with GPT, we tried uploading Turtle into GPT. We tried using Claude because Jeremy argues that Claude is better at reading
Yep.
RDF. So we tried using Claude, and I have like my Claude prompts here with like TXT files that I'm uploading because it only gets TXT. Maybe it's a little less confused, but I'm not sure. They are still not great. The least bad results I got was with NAS, because NAS already has in the background all the ontologies which you may want.
Yep.
So there's like a SHACL assistant.
It's got a little me in there.
Oh yeah, you've never seen it?
I'm not.
Little you, little me, and little better.
Delightful.
Um,
Harry looks like a nerd. I look like a chopped wood.
I wonder Jeremy would want this to be recorded and uploaded.
Can cut it out.
Okay. I'll ask him. But basically gave it some instructions here. Oh, by the way, we tried with and without the YAML instructions. We tried loading different ontologies here in its background. This is the ontologies here in YAML. What I did here, I built by hand an example where I said, what is it? This is like an hour. An hour needs to have 60 minutes as parts.
Yeah.
Well, not parts. What's the right? Whatever. Needs to have 60 minutes as temporal parts or whatever.
Temporal parts of 60 distinct temporal parts. Is it an interval? No, it's a temporal interval.
Yeah, that is equal to 60 consecutive minutes.
Consecutive intervals as parts.
Yep.
That are the same size and that are immutable.
Yeah. Well, not all of that, but the only thing I tried to give it here as an example was simply give me more than one. Oh, give me no less or no more than 60-minute parts. So this is the example I loaded. And so this is very specific, right?
Yep.
A specific example of a type of structure you can find in the definitions in the time ontology.
Yep.
And so from here, it kind of understood what it was doing.
Okay.
And it gave me something like, what is this? A day, well, no, not a day, that's not great. But a week needs to have 7 days.
Okay.
Something like that.
Good.
Then the problem was, this is CCO day, because this is not CCO 2.0. This is CCO 1 point something that I have in the background of NAS. Then I had to manually do it this morning and then copy paste stuff. That's why I'm mad today.
I see. You're frustrated. I'll tell Mark. Love it.
But yeah, so this is something, but I'm still not super happy about it. But
this is good.
This is a here. I call it time GPT, but it should be time NAS.
Okay.
This is, and the other problem I found, which I think we talked about today a little bit only, was the problem is context, because a lot of the definitions in CCL refer to other parts of CCL.
Right.
But you can't load the whole thing in one file.
This is what I would be looking for. So I'd be looking for creating something like what sounds like Tim and Jay were pointing at. They're calling it slims. I would call it like, but from whole cloth for the textual definitions, I'd look for 2 things: capitalized nouns, and that would tell me what I need to pull in to make sense of this definition from other places in CCL. Yeah, also have next to, like, alongside of it, the object property labels. Say anytime you see something that's close to this, because they're not always identical, we'll go ahead and pull in that object property, or just bring in all the object properties. Honestly, they're not that many. And so the idea would be to create like subsets of the graph that are closed, like they're like closed loop.
So for something like this, for example, right? Let's see. Something like this, right?
Yeah.
Acronym that is used by doctrinal source to denote identity. So it will have a Python script which is doing some regex or something like that. When it says big A or big something, it reads the word and checks whether it is an RDFS label acronym, and so it grabs this class, but only the name of the class and the definition maybe.
Yeah.
And but this you need to do so you get a single file with all of the mentioned stuff for each class in CCM. That's too big, so that's a lot of work.
You can automate it all. Who cares?
Well, the question is whether you can automate the part where you send this to the LLM.
Yeah.
And I guess which is what Josh's group was
Yeah.
doing, which is not what we were doing because I have no idea how API works. Although
Yeah.
probably someone else in my team does. But I don't think we were thinking about API calls.
This is good. So here's, man.
Yeah.
Okay, here, I like this. I think you guys have made respective progress. But, you know, much like blind people feeling around on an elephant, I forget how that metaphor works. You've gotten far, neither team has been able to eat the whole elephant. Is that the rest of the metaphor? I'm not sure. But I think you've made progress on carving the elephant up. And so I think it would be useful for you guys to combine efforts at this point. If you want to pursue this project to its completion, as API stuff that you can leverage. There's been a lot of work on leveraging the LLMs are trying to get it to work. And then you guys are in a place, and then following the tasks or strategy I would follow, getting as much of the logic down first, like creating the shapes, and then bringing the LLMs, which you haven't thought enough about, or a lot about how to do that second part. Okay. So there's like different areas of emphasis, and that could be beneficial or complementary. I say that because here's what I would like to see in an ideal world. I'm an optimist while living. For the rest of the semester, as short as it is, I'll give you some options for how to wind this down. Wind the rest of this down. It's the following. You could unify efforts in a way I just suggested and work together to see how far you can make progress on this very challenging project. You know, it is challenging. The culmination of which will be ideally a paper that we publish on this topic together, because you've already made enough progress to really just publish something like this. This is already some significant. So great job. Like you've already done a lot of good work that is worth talking about and promoting in the broader community. So I think we should. So even if you don't want to continue, I think already you're in a place where you can publish this, and we should do that. There's one. If you are done with this and you're like, I hate you, I hate everything about this, I hate your stupid bald face, and I don't want to talk to you, well, let me give you another option. So remember the OWL project that we were working on? That's the cheat sheet I was calling it. So now that the semester is over, I would like to write the paper. Like actually writing the paper, taking all the stuff, the work that you guys did. I have a draft for it already. I'm planning on for December, like getting that in the shape that would be published. You're welcome to work on that with me if you don't want to do this. Now, for the sake of the class, I mean, that would, we can talk later about what that looks like as we're winding down, but I guess, you know what? Let me backtrack a little about what I'm saying. I'll say this. You've already done enough work that if you're good with just moving on to something else, you can consider the progress that you've made and the projects that you've completed right now to be satisfactory for my purposes for evaluating. So if you're, I don't want you to continue on for the sake of the grade. You've done great work, and I'm very pleased. So you're good. If you want to publish some of this stuff or work on a project where we bring this to a close and publish this work in the broader community and have a hands-on role in that, then there are these two projects that I see right here, the OWL stuff and the SHACL stuff, both of which I think should be published sooner rather than later. There are a lot of people thinking about this right now, so we should do it now while the iron is hot. And I intend to, among the other things I'll be doing during December, focus on sharpening up papers of this sort. So yeah, I would like for you guys to work on it with me. But even there, let me again say you've done enough work already, so your name will be on it anyway, as long as you wanted it. So And with that, I guess I don't have anything else to say. So think about it. You don't have to answer here, but if worst case scenario, you've done enough. I appreciate it. I can take it from here, or you can take it with me. Either way, you'll get the credit in on terms of publication or credit in terms of. Good job, guys. I'm very pleased with what I've seen. You guys have come far.
I would like to, I mean,
I know.
we've come pretty far, and I mean, I don't necessarily with the goal in mind of getting everything done. I mean, obviously that's like
Yeah,
ideal, but maybe combining efforts would help that,
yeah.
I think, but if you think these findings are already publishable,
I
then
think so.
I think that while we're drafting it up, we can keep working on it, and
I think it'd be a good idea, because what I say is publishable is a combination of the groups.
okay.
So like taking the work that the LLM focused work, the API calls and like linking that up, just refocusing that on the textual definitions in the way you guys are starting to. But also taking the work that you're doing here and have to just, I mean, there's a pipeline.
I can, if it would help, I can get my group to everybody if they want to write up like a little write-up of what they did, and then I can combine them together.
That'd be
And
great.
I guess. if
Yeah, I
you
can
want
do
to
the
that
same.
too,
We can
yeah,
do the same, like write down the way we proceeded and
Yeah.
like
That'd be
link
great.
all the resources we used
Just give it to you.
and then mesh it together in one big file.
Sure.
That'd be great. This is so you know, this is how I operate. Like I have, you put it all in a document and then I rewrite everything. And it looks great. And then we send it to a journal and then everybody's names. But so it might be a little different. Even Andrew, I hear that the writing process was painful. I think it might be a little less painful here. You just send me what you have and then you hold your nose while I rewrite everything. And if there are any objections too, if you don't want, if you feel like maybe this isn't in the place, or you have some concerns, you don't want your name on the paper or something like that, you let me know. I think we should put it out there soon. And I know where to send those papers. Yeah, with that, I had another project planned to close out the semester. Let's focus on ETL process. But given how much work you guys put into this and how tired you all look, I'm inclined to instead just take a beat and just stop here, because I think, as I said, I think there's been sufficient work to actually contribute something to literature. That is one of the big things I want to do in classes, is like actually have something to produce that we can contribute to literature with. And we've met that goal. I also I have from conversations with you, I see that you've learned a lot and grow. And so that's my other thing. Like, what have you learned? How do you feel? What can you do on your own? This is an illustration of what you can do on your own. I think you did well. I'm pleased. How do you feel?
Good.
Tell me if I'm wrong. I'll give you more work. No, I'm just kidding. Tell me what you think. How have we done?
I think good. I think that, I mean, I'm not familiar with really kind of automating stuff. This is kind of my first time, like
Sure.
really getting into creating the little stuff and then dealing with bigger stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So
Different mindset, right?
yeah, it's a very different mindset,
Yeah.
and knowing what is and what isn't important is like sometimes hard to see.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This cleared up a lot of stuff for me.
That's great.
And I think that if we took different approaches, we, I guess, value different things, like what we wanted with like the quality control and whatnot. I think that if there's a way to combine them and actually get what the goal is out of this, then I think then we should go for it. And I feel that we're not too far away.
Yeah,
I feel like
good.
we're pretty close.
I mean, this is good to hear. One of the things I wanted you to see is, like, I'm not a programmer. I can code, but you wouldn't have to do it. But it's because I hate it. I hate doing it. I don't like it at all. But one of the skills that's been valuable to me over the years is knowing when to code and when not to. So think about whenever I'm entering a project, what should I be coding? What can I code? What should I not? Like, what's the right tool for the job, you know? And so that's served me very well. And so this exercise is sort of designed to put you into a position where you have to make a judgment call like that. Because if you make the wrong call, you're not going to make progress, right? So, but you guys made progress different ways, and it's okay, like whichever you choose, like, it sounds like I'm hearing that you were thinking of it that way, which is good. It's a hard lesson to learn when you're out in the wild. It's an easier lesson to learn in the classroom. So that was my point. That was part of the point. This is for coders, or this is for people who after code sometimes but hate it. Changing it.
How do they do it managing? You can be honest, please.
I think they did a great job, honestly.
Good.
I can stop the recording, you can tell me all the things that are wrong. Don't worry, like it.
That's on the back. I love it. I'm not surprised. Good project management skill. How do you think you do?
I'm not sure. I know, it's like, good.
You shouldn't wait and evaluate it in like a week after the dust is settled. It's hard to evaluate when you're in it, you know, you're still kind of in it. You need to give yourself a break and then have some grace and then look back and be like, as a word of advice, it's an outcome thing. And did I, like, if I'm evaluating myself as a project manager, did I hit the goals that we had well enough? Two, and this is not a ranking, just, did my team function well? Did they work together? Were they okay? Were they happy? Did they seem productive? Was anybody too stressed? Was I too stressed, you know? These are all like canaries and, you know, and, it's always an iterative process, but it sounds like you have t-shirts, man. I think you did all right. Good. She's so pleased. How do you think? What do you think about your team? Was it project?
We were good.
Well,
We were good. Fede and I swapped taking control of the reins.
that's good.
And John and Jay were just like phenomenal and getting
Yeah.
stuff done.
They are.
It was really helpful. And again, there's like problems that we had were problems that like doesn't matter the group. Like I was saying before, just reading other people's code and stuff is hard to do.
Yeah.
It's John complimenting us.
Fantastic. John's great.
Thank you, John.
He's such a nice guy. I love talking with John.
Thank you,
I
John.
always feel better. I'm like, why do I feel so good?
So, but we, I think we had good synergy.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. That's great. Cause, I thought you might not.
No,
Yeah, just given the personalities involved. But you did,
I draft
is-
well.
which is like kudos to the team. Cause you did it well, like you worked through it. You had a common goal and you did it and it worked well and, well done.
We tried to meet as much as we could. The first week of the project, we were kind of working individually. We hadn't met yet, and so
Yeah.
it was trying to pick up the pieces from everybody's work together, and then we had to be like, okay, we gotta redo everything, or not redo everything, but we gotta reorganize everything. And so there were just kind of not for the people, but just like how we set up to work together. That was more the problem. But I mean, we all pulled together. Everybody did great work, and I'm excited to see bringing the works together. So very good. Yeah.
Yeah, as a class, like, you know, I have an unorthodox teaching style. You're all familiar with this at this point. I hate grading. I think it's stupid. But I like outcomes. And so, in general, I'm aiming at wisdom, trying to make you wise. You're in a philosophy department after all. I am trying to make you wise, and wisdom is a hard thing to teach. You can't write it down and say, do this. You kind of have to create opportunities for people to thrive or develop different character traits. I can see that happening in all the classes. You can like develop character traits like that are new, and I can see them manifest in different ways. We've grown in that scale. So have you. So have all of you. I can see very clearly. Like, you need to work less. But I hear that from other people. But they say about me too. They can all shut up. like working as a team. Like you and Fede and the others, like you guys overcame some concerns that I had about friction. But you did. It sounds like you did fine. Well, that's great, that's very good. I can imagine nearby semesters where it might not have gone so well. But, bro, wisdom.
When the action is hot, keep the rhetoric cool.
There we go, I love it. But so the things we've covered, right? I wanna go through this real quick, just wanna make sure, what I just said, this is the wisdom stuff, this is character growth and personal growth. There's also the intellectual side and the content side of what we covered. I wanna make sure that we've hit, the other things I was aiming to hit. So OWL, like, you spent a lot of time thinking about the logic, description logic in the form of OWL, like relationships among object properties and things of that nature. Project, I looked through the projects. You did good. You did very well. I was hoping that there would be more automation. Giuliani did. It's good. He was wrong though. Like you need to fix this stuff. But he was at least aiming that way. But nonetheless, how do you feel? Do you feel like you got a deeper understanding of object properties, the logic? Because to me, though, that's where all the meat is for the logic. The object properties, because you're linking parts of classes and other parts of classes. I'll tell you too before you even answer. I know you have, because you already know more about OWL than most people in the community. And so the reason I was teaching you this stuff is because so many people, I have to like copy paste that like relationship, that information about relationships on the issue trackers all the time. You're like, does this thing populate upwards or downwards? Proof. That's why I'm writing, or that's why we're working on the cheat sheet page, because people don't know how logic works, but you know better. But how do you feel about that? Do you feel like you could confidently get put in a situation where somebody was discussing OWL in that shape, or somebody asked a question like that on an issue tracker that you could be like, actually, nerd out with your glasses. I think you could myself, but I want to see what you think. If somebody asks a question, I'll be more specific. Somebody says, oh, this object property is a subclass of this other one, or subproperty of this other one, and the first is symmetric. Is the parent symmetric too? Do you know how to answer? You know how to answer that. Would you be able to? If you had to.
Can you say that again?
Yeah. You've got two properties. You've got property A and property B, and property B is a subproperty of property A. And then property B is symmetric. And somebody asks, does that mean property A is symmetric? I'm not asking you to tell me if it is. I'm asking you if you feel like you can answer that question if you had to. Did you want to?
I was gonna say, aren't all instances of property of class A also instances of class B?
Not in this case. What we're talking about is like pairs, right? So their relations, the object properties. So anytime you have, a pair XY that's related to the child, the subproperty of relationship means that pair has to also be related to the parent relation. So if you got XY down here, you're gonna have XY up here. And then if you say this subproperty is symmetric, then if you have XY, you have YX, right? That's just part of the it's just the extension. And so if you then walk through the subproperty relationship, that means both XY and YX are gonna be under that parent relation. So the answer is yeah, it populates, right? And I was just asking in this case, somebody asked that, because this happens on issue. Somebody says, hey, what's the relationship? You feel like even if you can't like do what I just did, like pop it off the top of your head, you know what it was. Right? You understand what they're asking, you get it, and you're like, I can answer this question if my job depends on it. That's already a win, because so many people don't even see the problem. So you got it there. I'm happy. That's progress. How about how you feel about Sparkle?
Good.
What do you do for Spark?
Quality control checks and CCI.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, it's been a long time, right? We've covered a lot of ground. Right, you were writing quality control checks. You were thinking about and I asked you to do something kind of challenging, which is, write challenging, more or less challenging Sparkle queries to evaluate Common Core in aspects of Common Core patterns in Common Core, because you don't want to write like one-off queries.
There are I wish that we.
You should have reused that for this.
You
project.
really should have. I don't know why you didn't. There's a reason the SHACL stuff came second.
Jay and I were, sorry.
So I forget what I did 2 weeks ago. I like have a buffer time of like memory that I.
I don't even remember your name. Is it Giacomo? Nicole? Wait, did I actually just pronounce it correctly for the first time?
Jay and I had a conversation about combining two, which brings me to that I wish that for the Sparkle related stuff, that we, at least as a program, like the UV program, start getting cozy with Apache Jenna, because I want to use, well, just,
We can't use it.
just, what do you mean?
You know, you spent the summer.
I know. But I'm talking about for some certain things like,
Sorry,
there's,
Apache Jim.
like there's, Kubrick uses it. That's what Carter told me. I was talking with Carter about it.
Wonderful.
Get on this. Well, yeah, because I put on my CV, I was like familiarity with Apache Jenna, and he's like, that's pretty good. That's what we use. But so, just certain things like, using, like they have like bind functions and stuff that are just more flexible than Apache Jenna. And I think we should learn how to use sparkles for that.
Yeah, I have, so this is a good point. So, you've kind of been using it in practice, like, being thrown into projects, but it might warrant like a significant focus. And so the reason I haven't is because I've been hoping that been hoping Code Wars, and they're almost there. Been hoping Code Wars will actually like implement Sparkle as one of their training languages, and so they're almost there. They've been working on it. But with that, I don't feel like I need to teach you. With the textbooks out there, and then Code Wars, you can like, because it's gamified. But if they can't get it off the table by next semester, I think it's maybe a micro credential or something, or maybe I'll just put it on Core Labs, one of those certificate things, and I'll just like walk you through how to use all these cool features as well. And I guess for SHACL too.
No.
I'm much more inclined, though, just so you know, much more inclined to have you go struggle with it and then teach you that. Because after you've struggled with it, you figured out all the easy stuff that you can figure out on your own, and then what you want is something more sophisticated. And I will walk you, it's be like learning the first time again, I'll walk you through from the ground up into the sophisticated stuff, and you have a deeper appreciation for the simple stuff. And then you'll be thirsty for the hard stuff.
Maybe on what
Please.
Josh was saying. I think the cool thing about this version of Logic for Ontologists was, compared to the previous year, it did bring us, which is complementary, it's not better or worse, but it did bring us closer to like actually work and think about instance level data,
Good.
which is really important. I think in the future I'd like to see even more, like,
I agree.
let's set up a knowledge graph, let's start viewing it, let's start playing around with it.
That's the next version. I mean, I'm slowly trying to shift the department over there, because that's where we're gonna end up. But we're not gonna go back. So, because that's where all the work is being done right now. But I do think it's important, and it's not all taken away from what you're saying. I do think it's like the theoretical stuff, the stuff that's higher level. There's a reason that I'm teaching it to you, even though like all that other work is going on in the ground, because it's easy to like. Let me put this slightly different. If I started there and just kept you there are many people who do that. There are lots. There's a whole semantic web community, and we don't do exactly what they do. We are like strategic thinkers. We are like thinking higher level about unifying and reusing data, like structures across wide databases. They don't often think that way. So it's important in our program to hammer in like the making explicit the implicit semantics according to standards, because otherwise if we just followed suit on the other route, then we'd be creating a bunch of silos. Really, and you'll see as we get there, you'll see how easy it is to do. It's so easy to do this. What I want is you to have the theory, enough of the higher level theory and the reason and the motivation before you get your feet dirty there, like really fully. Because you'll be able to hold off from the attractiveness. You'll be able to withhold from the siren song of like moving out quickly and showing results. Because in your work in the field, it's going to be a constant pressure. You're going to get pressure from developers and other ontologists even who are like, we got to move fast. We got to work this way. Semantic web step all the way. And you're going to have to say, shut the fuck up. Because I don't want to have to do this again. And if we do what you're saying, we're going to have to do this again. And we shouldn't invest in that. So you're going to have to do that kind of bull war. And but also at the same time, there we go. That's my man. He knows. He's done it. But at the same time, like, and this is more for like the logically focus that we've explored earlier this semester. So there aren't a lot of people who understand the logic, as you know. And the stuff that I was showing you about the logic wasn't just logic for logic's sake. That is also a sort of training you'll see out there in the wild. You'll see people talking about description logic. You see them talking about OWL, and they're essentially doing it for the sake of OWL. Then they'll run a reasoner and be like, look at the stuff you can infer about pizzas and pepperoni. Who cares? Who cares? And if you try to put that in an architecture, like a bigger software environment, reasoning is expensive. Why the hell would I ever do that? Find out pepperoni is part of the pizza? I remember that, right? So they don't focus on like why you're using it, why you're doing this stuff. It's just logic for logic's sake. And I love logic too much to give it a bad name like that. So what I taught you, these are lessons born out of my own work in applied environments where I saw the value and was brought in to show the value of actual understanding of logic. Like I was brought in to solve hard problems. Often, that's when you do an APL, they give you like a statement of work that's a bunch of like, we don't know what we want you to do, figure it out. But that's what a UARC does. You don't give them bullets, you don't give them deliverables, you say figure it out. And so we would go do provide creative solutions to problems, to challenging problems. And in my experience, understanding deeply about how the logic works allowed me to come up with a lot of very creative solutions that were not on offer. No people didn't think were possible. And you got to see some of the reasoning that I leveraged in getting to those very interesting creative solutions that made their way into software systems that influence programs. Not many people can do that. Now you're closer to being able to. I want to make you unicorn. I want to make you pots. So that's been my goal. It will continue to be my goal. So we need this stuff. Yeah. But this is again not to take anything away from what I'm saying. And more hands-on training, building knowledge graphs, using knowledge base, all that stuff, and interacting with them. Stuff you do with experience. Not just anything. Wink. But yeah, that's on offer. That'll come. Don't want to do it in 2 hours.